As a Punjabi, myself, I don't want us to get that tag that these are extremists.
If somebody wants to start a news channel, what advice would you give they should keep in mind apart from why and what?
The grocery store media, the one that you will find in magazines, were not covering anything.
Khalistani news and few other Indian news. Few people are actually raising the concerns on that.
Khalistan is a banned movement in India, who after the death of Nijjar, he has been arrested on multiple gun possession charges. So I can't make these people victim.
I think for that particular reason, you have been backlashed by few people.
Bondi, Westfield knife stabbing.
Correct. Yeah, I remember that.
Right?
I have seen so many, especially when
even ABC. Even ABC has been in court for there was a story related to military where they had added gun noise story, which was not credible.
Not there, actually.
Because we are a small media house, so we triangulate. We use the triangulation strategy. So we are
sort of, I think they do pay you, but bare minimum.
A couple of things. One, how mainstream media used to represent the diaspora community, or how it used to represent the Indian stories. Slumdog millionaire kind of image of India.
You can't survive with
Good
that.
for a few beers.
True.
His name is Harneek Singh, a radio host who's very anti Khalistan, very pro-India, pro-Punjab, was attacked by almost 8 people.
7 news or 9 news? They started showing a map of India,
Not including
Kashmir as a
Kashmir.
part of Pakistan,
Yes.
sort of.
ISI. Terry Milewski, who's a Canadian journalist who has covered Khalistan in Canada for 3 decades. Media, even for Australian media, mainstream, they pick our stories. So in Hindi we have a saying, "Nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye."
Welcome back to Real Talk with Rohit Jaichand. Today at Real Talk, we are joined by Dr. Amit Sarwal, academic, author, and a co-founder at news platform The Australia Today. With a career spanning in teaching, journalism, research, and writing, Dr. Sarwal has built bridges in between India and Australia through his writing, media, and storytelling. In this 2-part special, we'll explore his journey across media, academic, entrepreneurship, and writing, uncovering how he is shaping conversations, creating impact, and empowering voices. These episodes are packed with insights you don't want to miss. So let's get started with the first episode of this series. Let's welcome Amit Sarwal. Let's welcome Dr. Amit Sarwal in the studio.
Hi, thanks.
Hi, Amit. You are a co-founder in Australia Today. Can you tell us what kind of gap you are filling with this media joint?
Okay, so we started the Australia Today in 2021, January. Before that, I had some experience of working at SBS. I'm academic from background, but I do have a degree in mass communication, journalism. I used to write op-eds for various news media houses, appeared as an expert because of my academic career. And then in 2021, Jitarth and I think after some time Pallavi, we all got together and we thought we should do something because we were not happy with a couple of things. One, how mainstream media used to represent the diaspora community, or how it used to represent the Indian stories. The second point was that the grocery store media, the one that you will find in magazines, were not covering anything. I'm not saying they were not covering, but they were not covering anything substantial that would make news.
I agree with that.
And the third one was that most of the Indian journalists who worked for mainstream media houses were not given that space to cover the diaspora politics. They were just asked to cover the colorful events, go cover Diwali, Holi, right? Nothing
generic
concrete
things,
which actually affects the diaspora community, be it policy making, be it the immigration, jobs, career, student life. And we had that kind of experience, and that was the gap. Overall aim was to minimize misinformation related to both the diaspora and India. There was too much slumdog millionaire kind of image of India.
I totally
which
agree
needed
with
to
that.
be,
Yeah, true.
even if when Channel 7, 9 or Sky News went to cover any of the bigger India events, they would stand in front of Dharavi or a Delhi slum and then start covering their thing, rather than going to, say, a place that, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that is not the reality of India. There are so many Indias, right?
True.
So we started that on a very small scale, couple of people, a lot of academic help, people started contributing. And our story started picking up, and that's how actually it started in 2021. Very low profile, but with lots of passion.
That's what I think you actually required to start any kind of business. So, which I totally agree with you. You were mentioning the magazines and all. When I was in Sydney, I have seen so many new newspapers.
Yeah.
Like they are printing magazines every month. Few of them are doing it quarterly or half yearly. They are mainly covering our Diwali functions or that kind of, or they are like more like a advertisement joint for businesses. Let's walk us through your first initial 12 months, right? Any surprises or the lesson you have learned in first 12 months, even though you are from the same background? Right, you guys worked in SBS. I believe your co-founders also worked in the same
SBS Hindi. So we kind of used the experience of SBS Hindi because we all worked at SBS Hindi 2016 to 2018, but others worked 2020 till 20. I worked there at 2016 to 18, and we worked at a time when SBS Hindi itself was using digital strategies to improve it. So we were the ones who were actually at the forefront of making SBS Hindi work with our stories, right? So we were experimenting a lot with things. I still remember I was the first one at SBS Hindi to cover Jagannath Rath Yatra, which happened in Melbourne's West. 1 hour live on Facebook, no tripod, nothing, with my Samsung phone.
Right.
And just running around but doing the live just like you will experience it on television. 15,000 live viewers, thousands of comments, and the viewers were not just from Australia, they were from India, US, and many other places. So that was the realization that digital is the future for everyone, right? So we were working for radio, but when we started the Australia Today, the idea was, should we go with radio as well, right? And then we decided, no, podcasting may work, but most people read your news when they are either going to office or coming back. That's the only time when they are browsing through. So we thought digital's first, sustainable. First year was very few stories. I still remember we started with 2 stories, 3 stories a day. By June, July, it was still COVID. Our first story was about how there is a misinformation related to COVID, but which is coming from Indian media or select Indian journalists. So the story we broke was fact-checking story.
Right.
That how this is misinformation related to COVID with India's, India-related one. And then our other stories were Australia related. They were doing good. It's only around June 2021, I think, we came on radar of most notable media houses.
Because even in a recent trend, I have seen, especially while you are sharing the Khalistani news and few other Indian news, few people are actually raising the concerns on that, like saying why Australia Today is covering other news, and definitely we'll discuss about that later down the track. And the next thing I want to know, especially from the editorial point of view, right? How do you maintain the balance in accuracy and verification of the breaking news?
It's a really good question because we are a small media house, so we triangulate. We use the triangulation strategy. So we are 3 editors. So each editor has to approve the breaking news, cross-check anything.
Right.
I'm not saying it's error-proof. There may be minor errors, but it may not be a major blunder. So for example, when there was the news regarding... if you remember the Bondi Westfield knife stabbing.
Correct. I remember that.
Right. So a lot of people started sharing photographs of one young person saying he's the attacker.
Yes.
And there was a lot of Palestinian, Jewish, that kind of tension going on. And that someone's photograph was shared, someone messaged us, oh, this is breaking news, and this is media. Police has not said anything, but some media houses picked that up, and we said no, we are not doing that, because we are not sure if until the police releases the suspect's photo, or we are sure. And that was a good call, right? So it turned out to be a bogus news story.
Totally
channel,
agree, yeah.
And that was a mainstream media channel that has to apologize, who have millions of dollars editors at place, and they made that mistake, and they said it was a human error. So human error may happen, but when it's a small team, we have to work really hard on our stories. And remember, so you just connecting with your previous question with this one, all these grocery media store
got your point. Yeah,
the magazines, their source of stories was India. Like they would pick up stories from Times of India, Hindustan Times, and then just publish it in their its curation. The change that we brought with the Australia Today was that we became the source of news for Indian media or any other media, even for Australian media, mainstream. They pick our stories, they share our talent, they curate our stories. For example, I broke the Jaichand Prize story. It was an interview on ABC where she said something. I heard the interview and I think this is not the story. The story is that she's still blaming Indian migrants voting, which has no statistical point.
Yeah,
and then she came on our interview. So this is the change that we have brought. They will not go to a grocery store magazine
100%.
for an interview. There can be just a couple of magazines who may compete with us, but they're nowhere near us. So, but for Indian media, we are the source of news, and they will not use us if we are not credible.
That's the reason I actually asked this question. How do you actually manage the accuracy and verification of the particular news?
So there are various sources. So we can check with the government. We have the websites. We can check with what the Wire is saying. Not the Wire newspaper, but all the agencies. Agencies are talking about, and what other journalists are saying. We have our sources sometimes in policy making, ministries and other places, and community as well. Once they are sure this is happening, we go ahead with the story. Right. So we are not sitting there that we have to break this story, but we have to break it right.
No, 100%. Right? That's actually I want to know next, like especially after verification and all, like as you mentioned, you have credible sources and all. So credibility is the biggest issue with especially newspapers today. Either it's a digital newspaper or hard copies anyways. It doesn't exist anymore much. But especially with digital media, the credibility is the biggest thing, right? Which we have seen, as you even mentioned, with the big news channels, 9 News, 7 News. I have seen so many, especially when
even ABC. Even ABC has been in court for there was a story related to military where they had added gun sounds on a story, which was not credible.
There, actually. So they are, I would say, on the top of the list in misinformation. That's what I believe. That's purely my opinion. I have seen on like Facebook news and all that kind when they share, right? So how do you actually build the audience trust? In like, especially if I'll talk about migrant community or Indian diaspora, how do you build that trust or credibility?
So one thing that we do is we have a bouquet of stories, right? So say, for example, if we started with 2 to 3 stories, then it became 4 to 6. Now it's 6 to 12 in a day. So it's a bouquet kind of thing. You have a lot of different colorful stories. You have community stories. You have policy stories. You have government, Australian government, Indian government, India story, or the universal, diaspora kind of stories. We do cater Indo-Pacific, which is Fiji. Our audience is diverse. So we are catering to everyone. So to build their trust, from headline to all the information that we provide do have backlinks. So if anyone reads the story, they don't like the story, but they can find the extra information that they are looking for if they click within the story. So first, the job, so our audience knows that. So if we say, XYZ made this policy and they have kept Indians in mind, or they have kept this immigration thing, or international
Community,
students.
yeah.
So there would be a link given there. So it's not just we are saying, you can go and cross-check the policy as well,
which
or
is
the statement. So that increases the trust that, yes, it's, but then again, there are people who would see a particular story, they're not happy, and they'll say, this is fake media house. We can't help those guys.
This happens a lot in these days.
So I think initially when we started doing story, because I write a lot, someone said this person doesn't exist. Well, I had all the social media pages and everything, but he still said, this person on Twitter said, this guy doesn't exist. He's fake. So I cannot build trust in people who don't want to believe. But as I said, we have variety of audience. We now have mainstream, if I can call, non-Indian audience as well, who are picking up our stories, and they're reading and they're commenting on our stories, particularly Australian politics, Australian economy, international student-related stories. So we have a variety of audience, and that takes a lot of time to build trust. So we are not just a desi media. A lot of time, I like the word, like how ABC recently introduced us in one of their articles. They are, the Australia Today is popular within the Indian diaspora community. Yes, that would be a good way to say, but saying that we are an Indian media house is wrong. We are very much Indian Australian media house, and as our name suggests,
Australia Today.
The Australia Today, we represent the Australia of today, which is multicultural, multi-faith.
True.
And there are a lot of things and lots of issues, but we are working towards it.
Fair enough, because at then, see, when you come into the competition of a big fishes, it does happen. I totally agree with you. I have faced similar kind of things in my business as well once. So you just like keep working what you're working on, and they'll disappear anyways. Because especially with Indian diaspora, as I told you, like personally, if I'll talk about, I don't trust their news much now. I used to, but especially the way they started creating misinformation, I don't like their news at all. Right. Moving to my next question I have for you is basically, as a small news channel, you started. Definitely, now you are not a small news channel, I would say, and definitely you're gonna be one of the biggest news channel. That's my wishes with you guys.
Thank you.
Right. And how do you actually survive from the money point of view? Right. Do you guys work on subscription model or sponsorships or even events? I think you guys have last year, I believe you guys have done one women's award.
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year. Right.
March. So money-wise, we are good in a way. It runs well. But yes, subscription, our stories are free to use. Anyone can use it. Anyone can read it. So we don't charge our customers, paper story kind of thing. We do have patronage system where they can come and donate money to us. Advertisements, Google Ads, Facebook. Most of the time it's advertorial stories or paid promotion kind of thing, but those stories are very different. They're businesses kind of paying business stories around. It's very clear as well. We write that this is an editorial promoting this business. We don't charge any talent when we are interviewing anyone or anyone, we just cover the stories. So money wise, it's mostly people who support the Australia Today consultancies. So we are not just the Australia Today. We have like couple of other businesses as well. We are a publication house. We have consultancy. So that works fine.
Definitely, because while doing a research on you, I came through like you also do teaching in few unis, and also you have a publication press.
Kula Press,
right. So you have also written few books as well. And definitely we'll talk about that in different episode. Because I don't want to mix two things, especially when we are talking about Australia Today. This is the most important topic for our diaspora, also for the Australian people. So that's how basically Australia Today is building their steps in Australia.
So most of the, you pointed out I think if I got it right, the advertisements that come in magazines.
Yes.
So their survival model is advertisements. Ours is
That's
not.
the reason I asked this
So
question.
we
actually.
are not publishing advertisements.
Yeah.
We are publishing news.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between us and
Right.
them at the moment.
Because while going through your website, I have seen few ads, which
That's
is
Google
purely
AdSense.
like
That's Google AdSense.
feels
We have
right.
no control over that. So
That
once your
definitely,
stories become popular, Google bombards you with AdSense. We
100%.
try to minimize it. We try to delete the
But you can't
widgets,
do it,
but
actually.
we can't do much on it. So
I know that because I have worked with
Yeah.
Google AdSense for few of my clients.
yes.
Right, that's purely in their hands.
Yeah.
They are sort of, I think they do pay you, but bare minimum,
No, it's
which
bare
is
minimum.
definitely not a survival thing, right? You can't survive with
Good
that.
for a few beers.
True, very true. So a few of my clients, I remember, like they got sort of directories kind of website, right? They just get, at least they end up getting money for the running cost of the website in the starting. We have definitely talk about the misinformation before, right? So while you guys stay credible in any particular community or Australian community, I would say pretty much we are covering all kind of news now. How do you actually fight the misinformation? As you recently mentioned that ABC have done an article on you guys representing you as a Indian media.
Yeah, popular with Indian community.
Popular with Indian community.
Yeah, it started with one ABC guy, I think 2021, he said, oh, they are Indian media. And we had to fight back, it's a colonial mindset. We are Indian Australians, and why don't you consider our, us Australian media? Because we are registered in Australia, we're doing Australian citizens. It's just that we cater to diaspora community. That's the only difference. So would you call SBS Indian media? SBS Hindi, SBS Punjabi, they cater to Indian diaspora. They're Australian media.
They even cater to different
and you have SBS Macedonia and so many, 64 languages, so many, but it's still Australian media. It's taxpayer funded. So fighting misinformation was one of our key aims. It's very simple to fight misinformation. You just need the data and statistics to fight. Overall, I think in 3 to 4 years, I've written 7 or 8 stories fighting misinformation from other media houses.
Right.
So it can be related to India or Indian diaspora, and they had to change the headline or change or apologize that this is not the right story. All we had to do was point out facts and data, that what you are saying is not right. This is the actual data. You are misrepresenting data. We do that. Sometimes we do it ourselves. We triangulate the data, we get the data, statistics, and we work on that. Sometimes we ask other academics, working at various universities, maybe India, US, New Zealand, or Australia, if they can counter this piece of misinformation by data and statistics, not by passion. What was happening, I'll tell you, that's because it's kind of funny. Till 2021 or even now, if I give you a news piece published in England, US, or even Australian mainstream media, which has misinformation, your passions will rise hard and you will start shouting and you'll say, this is not right, this is not right. But that will make them the victim, not you.
True.
They will say, look at these Indians, they are attacking us for reporting. But then if you point out, this is the data, sir, this is, where you are wrong, you have pointed this wrong, you have fudged it, or you have done this. It's very easy to fight with data. I think now everyone has the tool, Twitter, social media, not Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram. You can just go and point out the data. I think X has a community notes. You can put community note there, and it's not very hard you don't need to be a fact checker. And surprisingly, most of the fact checking agencies or fact checkers that started have, shut shop because they were ideologically motivated themselves. They were working for the other groups. So they were not fact checking, they were suppressing facts. So if you're fighting with data, if you're fighting misinformation, and if your cause is genuine, you can still survive.
Because I also remember one of that kind of news. I believe you guys might have covered that. On 7 News or 9 News, there was a news. They started showing a map of India,
Yes, we
right?
have done that.
Including, I think,
Not
Kashmir
including
as a
Kashmir.
part of Pakistan,
Yes.
sort of.
ABC has done that as well.
Oh, right.
We did the story. There were other channels. So they were just picking map, which is available on Google, not
Years
the
ago.
UN one. So yeah. So this happens a lot. So I wrote a story myself where on ABC's children's program, they showed a map of
That's
India.
the one, yeah.
So I did the story. I talked to community and then we did a whole story around that. We sent it to ABC. This is not right.
Next thing on my mind is, as you earlier mentioned, you have triangular process of verifying the news, right? As you also mentioned, like you got bunch of news, right? How do you vet the news? Like, okay, this is the one we should cover.
We have partnerships or collaborations with some news media house or agencies which we can share news. So if they are doing it, they are trusted partners. We republish the news. We get media statements from policymakers, politicians, or unions and others. So that's set news as well. That needs to be curated in a way that it can be presented because they're written in a very bland kind of way. So quotes from Prime Minister, we have to put the context and then add the story, which is also doable easily. Then you have the police stories, crime stories related, but it's through ABF, Australian Border Force, and you have the Australian Federal Police or state police stories. So we get that from their websites. Images are supplied as similarly defense stories and others. The triangulation happens when it's the story that you're working on originally. So something that I picked from social media, Twitter, and then I have to create a story around it. It's a good topic. Someone mentioned something. Racism happened with me, at a restaurant. Then we have to do the hard work. Then we have to triangulate the sources. We have to get the police. If a police complaint was filed, are there CCTV footage? Are there witnesses? What is the other party has to say? So that's how the triangulation. And once it's written, then one of the editors would read it and see if it's legally okay.
Definitely, that's one of the point to be covered.
Yeah.
And moving to wide term of journalism, how do you think it helps in curating agendas or policies related to, for example, migration or education or housing?
So usually sometimes what happens is that policymakers or politicians would say something and it becomes news. So when it is covered from us, their people who are their, say, advisors, they keep an eye on what's happening. So it's not us who are reporting to them. But they keep an eye on what is the public's reaction to, say, a housing policy change or an immigration or student visa change. They don't ask us, if they are designing a policy. It's kind of a grapevine kind of thing where they will just tell. It's not a rumor, but it's just they just want to check what would be the reaction. And if it bounces in a good way, they will carry it forward. Otherwise, they will just drop it. They will make minor changes. Say, for example, parents' visa was one of the stories that we did when we were at SBS. So we would do it a lot. And that gave the immigration department some idea of how much fees they can ask from public and how much time will it take. Similarly, H-1B visa stories that we did recently after Trump's announcement. Trump's team had to come back and give an explainer. This won't affect the present visas. It is only for the new visas.
I think especially on that one, I have followed that news, and few of the people are also commenting, like they were talking about Australian IT companies and all that kind of stuff. Can you shed some light on that? Like
how the H-1B visa will affect the... Yes, so I wrote an op-ed as well that this is a good chance for Australian IT companies to grow, to get the brilliant minds. Remember that within the IT or IITs or, technical people, there is a hierarchy where they go. US is one of the preferred destinations.
Totally agree.
Then comes Europe. Australia, because of its distance, many people don't want to come and work in Australia. That's the kind of sense I got from people, because if you are in US, it's very easy to move around, even if you are on H-1B visa. So it's very easy to go to Canada. You can stay in Canada, work in US, stay in US, work in Canada, and it's easy to go to Europe and other places. So easy to meet family back home, all those ideas. But when it comes to hiring, Australia hasn't been able to hire the best of the IT minds. We haven't been innovating enough.
Definitely.
In Australia, right? It's not saying that Amazon, Google, Facebook, everyone has a presence here, but they are not doing anything. It's just
they are American companies.
Yeah, they're American companies. So this would give a very good chance, and I think I kind of agree with it. But again, they have innovation visas in Australia. You have hiring of the work for the skilled visas. They can come through that, but this would be a good chance for H-1B visa holders to actually reevaluate their options and move to Australia. Has good IT companies. Australia has
totally agree.
Good infrastructure. It's the best place to live and contribute to. So if you are someone who's democratically inclined, who believes in the Western values, who believes in a good life, Australia is the place to be.
I have few connections back in USA and Canada. Right now, Australia, I would say, is the best country to live. Not just like I'm living here. I'm saying on the basis of like housing prices, pay scales, right? Canada, they are getting paid. I think the maximum pay rate they have, or I would say minimum we have is $21, $22 in these days.
Yes,
they have is $15.
I think it's 15, 23. That's the difference. 23, 24. They have 15 something. But again, apart from that, so the safety thing is very important, and Australia is pretty safe. Even after immigration rallies, you can see it's still very safe. Almost no racist incidents, even after the anti-immigration rally or anti-Indian rallies as they were promoted in the media. So that's why I said, if you are skilled, if you are democratically and Western civilization inclined, you want a peaceful life, you want to live with good neighbors, people who value these things, then Australia is the place to be. And I think H-1B, this is the right time for actually many governments, not just Australian government, but any government that's trying to attract, like Dubai is trying to attract a lot of, they're on a housing spree, they're building bigger and better suburbs.
Yes.
They would like to promote, ultimately, IT, finance, all these kind of jobs, even research jobs can be done from any country. So look at Singapore. Like Singapore is just a finance and IT hub. It's the one, like a pit stop for everyone. There were, I think, trial and experiments here in the Pacific. I think Kiribati wanted to be that. Fiji also wanted to be like that, but they couldn't succeed. New Zealand, I don't think, has the potential to do it right now. Australia is the only country left in the region that can actually have that actually has the potential and the vision.
I think it might be like I would say, it's my opinion. What I was thinking, especially when it comes to taxing, right? Taxes,
very high.
Taxes are too high as comparatively America. Like if we are willing to attract a crowd from there, especially the good IT people, right? The tax slabs are so high. Why would they even consider, instead of coming here, they will happily go back to their country like India?
Yeah, so that's the other option that I wrote, that's the first country that would prefer them to come back is India.
100%, yeah.
And India is hiring lots of US or Europe returned, even Australia returned. Some of my friends went back and they are working fine, good life.
I think now as India is booming, like I was following one of the business news the other day, and I go through that, like right now there are a lot of startups in India as comparatively Australia. It was similar as USA had so many startups in early stages, and now India is moving on to that path.
Not just these startups, I think in the last 10 years of Modi government, the number of millionaires have doubled, and that's because of the startups and the
100%.
the industries that they have got. Although billionaires are still 300 plus, 360, billionaires are untouched, but it takes a lot of time to build a billion. Million is
100%.
easy to build, so they are helping build millionaires in India. And so like if I had started the Australia Today in India, we would be sitting with Arnab Goswami and others. So we would be somewhere totally different. We will not be considered an independent, or we would not be looked down upon as like popular among Indian community kind of media house. With same effort, same team, we could have done much better job. But the thing is that we wanted to work here, so
that's where we have started building the life. So as I was saying, like it's always better to give it back to the same community instead of like definitely moving back and starting from scratch. So while we are discussing, like as you even mentioned that if you were in India, you might have grown a lot better than Australia. While you are in Australia now, it's been, I think, almost 4 years today.
Yeah, Australia Today, it's almost 2021.
2021, so 4 years. So what kind of tools or workflow you will recommend if somebody wants to build a lean newspaper operations?
So you need to have a good server, website, a good name, catchy name, good collaborations, because you can't do it on your own. If you are thinking you will just publish one news, what you like, then it's better to post it on Facebook, social media, or X, or blog. If you want to build an online newspaper, then you will definitely need a good IT team, like not hiring, but at the backup. Cybersecurity issues are like we, as I said, 2021 we started. By 22 we were popular within the diaspora. We were doing great news. Our authors were being invited. Whoever was contributing was being invited to other shows and everything. That brought in cybersecurity threat. Our website was continuously attacked in 23. It's only in 24 we were able to, but that was also the time when a lot of cybersecurity threats were happening to Australian.
Pretty much, yes.
And we were the Australia Today, so
you are on
our name says the Australia, so we were like at front of. So every time something would happen, our website will go down and people will go out, right? So your audience starts leaving. We had to invest significant amount of time and money in protecting our website. So it needs to be secure, not just for us, but also for audience who will share our news. So we don't want a threat, virus to go from ours. We didn't even know that you can put a virus in images as well. So image is a link basically, right? Yes. So that's what was happening with our website. So we had to contact the authorities. We have to contact the police, what's happening around, and they have to they advised us. So that's something. So you have to invest in IT, cybersecurity, patent your name, register, do it properly as a business. Join unions. We have MEA, which does remarkable work. It's a media and entertainment association of Australia. So you can join it as a freelance member or as a paid member. Then they will give you insurance as well. Okay. Insurance is a must when you are doing news, because you don't know what kind of people you are going to rattle, basically. So insurance is must. Having some knowledge of how media is working, because you don't want to replicate what others are doing. I know of a few cases where they tried to replicate the Australia Today. In fact, they just copy-pasted our stories and we allowed that, but it didn't succeed, right? So in Hindi, we have a saying, nakal ke liye bhi akal chahiye.
100%.
So even if you're curating or copy-pasting our stories, for example, we have tie-ups with Indian news, Fiji, even some of the Australian news media houses, and we can take their stories, they can take our stories. We have throughout Pacific, US, Canada, so we take their stories. But you need to build the writing skills. So if you are not from news background or any mass communication background, then you will need to do something. So you'll have to first, like anyone who's thinking of starting a news media, you'll have to first ask yourself why you want to do this.
Why is always better to
Why,
ask.
right? So if you can ask and answer it yourself, just because I have seen a lot of people who have opened news media, they just want the media tag, and
That's
that
it.
allows them access to, say, politicians, but all they are doing at that time is taking a selfie. I don't think you can find a single selfie of mine on my Facebook with any celebrity or
I
any
totally agree,
politician,
I
even
agree.
the premiers.
Hmm.
If it's a group photograph, that's a different thing, but you will not find. So I've seen people, going to someone, introducing themselves as Indian media in Australia and taking a selfie, but not asking questions. So if that's your aim, then you don't need that, because politicians are very friendly in Australia.
Anyways, yeah.
So they will just give you a selfie anyway.
True.
But if you're passionate, if you want to do media, if you want to bring out the stories, then definitely do it. But find out why you want to do it and what you want to do.
So when you say what you want to do, is we are talking about choosing a niche or
the gap.
finding a gap.
Yes.
What you want to cover actually.
Yeah. So it can be just community stories. It can be just children's stories in community. I know one of my publication friends started a children's club. It's called, I think in India, Akkad Bakkad.
Okay.
We know the concept of childcare, and but in India it's still kindergartens or UKGs. So they build that concept around that from Australia and other countries. So and they publish newsletters catering to just small children. It's almost like Champak or those kind of magazines, but in a online newsletter form. One story each day that you can read on your app to your children.
Oh, which is good. Actually a good idea anyways.
Yeah.
Right, because up here we don't have much apart from like YouTube. We don't have much any kind of. That's one of the business ideas somebody can use even in Australia.
You can create that as well.
So when we are mentioning about like we are talking about somebody wants to start a news channel, definitely why and what is the must to know before even they start. Like you have started it 4 years ago. If you have to measure your impact beyond any clicks or policy changes, how do you measure that, I would say?
Like how we measure our impact?
Yes.
So a news media, even for mainstream media, the news media impact is through unique browsers. So clicks decide what's your impact, how much your stories are reaching to the masses, how many people are sharing your stories. If it's a good story, everyone will share it. Policy impact is very hard to find out unless they mention it. So in our terms, we have been very lucky that we have been mentioned a couple of times in the Australian Parliament and Victorian Parliament, which gives us the straight edge that yes, we have impact.
You have done the right thing.
We have done the right stories. We have done the thing. And otherwise, why would a federal parliament, politician, MP would mention our name? And they're not making fun of us. They're using our story to highlight that these guys have done this story and this is what we need to do. So this is one way to measure your impact. The other way to measure your impact, obviously, if the audience gets back to you and says, yes, this has happened. So in, I think, most recent case, I think Jitarth covered one of the stories where an Indian international student who was on work visa, his hand was kind of chopped.
I remember that.
And so we did the story and we highlighted what he actually wants, right? Rather than being a number that in the knife attack, he wanted to tell his story, and that helped get him his residency, which he would have got it, say, after 1 year, but the process was made fast for him. That's the only thing we can do in terms of policy.
Definitely, you can share their story.
So, yeah, we are just the mouthpiece of the community.
That's one of, I would say, the good impact that you shared, right? As a newspaper, that's what I think newspapers should be doing, sharing the right information and trying to help someone the way you can do. Instead of, like I have seen few newspapers, they just create you as a story, and after that,
they don't
what
know.
happened with
No,
you.
so we kind of follow through the stories. Even if someone gets an award, it's not just injury or something. Even if someone gets an award, we do the story and then we tell them, look, this is how you have been stories being received, because you never know if people will come on a good story also and badmouth you. Like recently, I did a story about a young Indian origin boy getting, I think, state award for some academic merit. And on Twitter, the story did okay, right? It's a good story. It's a young boy who received an academic merit award for his, work. So we shared the story, but someone shared it in a negative way. Indian community guys who shared it in a negative way because his name was long, so we missed the surname. Which was not the point of the story. The point of the story is this young boy has received an academic award. I could have responded. They targeted me, they trolled me personally. But what hurt me most was we could easily realize this. They were putting that boy in a firing range right now, right? So people came and started making fun of that boy's name. Which
could be stressful for that particular
if the family knows. So we have to tell the people that this is how your stories may be received. Then came the good point that people fight back, so we don't have to fight back. Then people tell them, hey, are you guys silly or what, right? So it's a good story, celebrate it, it's community. So you never know how your work will be received.
Definitely, you can't even judge the mindset somebody who is reading it. Because it happens a lot, especially when it comes to Indian diaspora stories. Few of our community members try to diminish it in a negative way and then gaining their popularity through that. But
so I'll give you two examples. So same story. I did one in 2016 and the other one in 2025 after almost 9 years. 2016, someone said there should be the number of Indian diaspora has increased, the number of Hindu population has increased in Australia. There should be an optional holiday for Diwali. So I did that story. Guess who came to criticize that?
Definitely, our community.
Yes. And
it does happen.
Non-Indian community, especially Anglo-Australian community, came out saying, hey, hooray, yeah, that's a very good thing. We would like, but make it on a Friday so we get the long weekend. Right?
Fair enough.
It's not a compulsory holiday. It's an optional holiday. Optional holiday is simple that I won't celebrate Christmas or a footy day. I will work on that, but I will take Diwali as a holiday.
It's definitely.
Not, right? This year I did that story again because someone started a petition with 7,000 signatures. We want Diwali as an optional holiday because California, Pennsylvania, and New York
has started
this. So why is Sydney, Melbourne lagging behind? Why can't they do it? It's a story. Guess again, after 10 years,
it's the Indian community.
It's the Indian community who was saying, and they don't understand first understand, like before I speak, I understand what I'm going to talk about. It's an optional holiday. You don't want it, don't take it. But
they read the holiday part and that's it, started commenting.
Yes, so they don't read the stories, right? I could have written the optional holiday in the headline as well, but that won't serve my purpose.
Definitely.
Because at the end of the day, I also want click.
100%.
But I want people to read the story because it's in the summary and the first line.
Yes.
So you have to open the thing and read it.
That's the thing. They don't want to open the news. They just read the headline and make their assumption. Okay, this is what they are talking about.
Yeah, I have a word for it. I call Gyan Pelwaz. So people who just pelo Gyan, but they don't try to. So opinionated people are everywhere.
100%.
And there are people who would come and support news if the news is good. But yeah, it's the mindset. I think people, what's happening with digitization and TikTok generation, if I can call, is our reading ability has diminished.
Gen Z.
So our reading ability has diminished. Everyone is on WhatsApp and
quick news
and make up their mind and then say something. And when you point out, they will say, oh, sorry, I didn't see that. So we realize that, and that's where we come, like So we have to give the whole information, but you have to open the news and read it.
100%.
I can't write the full news on Facebook. I can't write there is word limit. There are so many limitations. So this is what people need to do, and especially the Indian community. I think if you have to, as I said earlier, if you have to fight misinformation, you have to provide information.
100%. Even like as you are mentioning, anybody who wants to just throw a comment without even reading it, and then who is looking bad? They are looking bad at that. Not as a news channel, you are looking bad, right? Because you have shared your information. Whoever read it, if somebody wants to start a news channel or news agency or news shop, whatever, or a grocery shop,
media house,
news grocery, I would say. So as a student or journalist, so what advice would you give they should keep in mind apart from why and what?
Okay, so first thing is, do not leave the job that you're doing. Keep one job that brings you money, because few years it will not bring you money. But it's like any other startup. So startup rule is first 3 years you don't earn anything. You have to build goodwill. Same is for news media. You have to build a brand goodwill. Only then people will come. So, and you will have to have some form of investments for the first 3 years from your own pocket, which is the running of the server, the website, the costs of the accountants, any traveling costs, microphones or anything. All this needs to be put in your business account. So create a business, run that under that. Do not run news media as you running it, because that makes you, like any other business, you become liable for anything that you say. For everything you are doing. So run it as a separate business category, not as individual. First thing, invest. If you believe in your project, then you should invest in your project as well, and do it the right way. But do it baby steps. Don't go on an epic level that I want to compete with ABC or even now the Australia Today. I'll do it in all languages, small scale, few news items. Try to get your friends to contribute, but money would play an important role in whatever you do. So investment is a key requirement. It's not simply that one day we woke up and we said, let's start a website. It costs money, and I know if you have to register the name, and the right name costs money as well.
100%.
And cybersecurity guys take money. I remember when we were going through the cybersecurity thing, we emailed someone. They said it will cost you £10,000, and I said, £10,000. I've never seen that in. If you convert it into Australian dollars, it's very high amount. So you had to go back to. So this is the advantage with the news media, that you don't necessarily require people to be in Australia. So your IT team can be in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore or India, wherever you get the right price. Our servers is in US, right? So domain name is bought from Germany. So you can buy it from anywhere, wherever you can get the best prices and the best teams.
Anything they should avoid, I would say red flags.
Yeah, so the red flags is do not do stories that has risk of litigation taking you to court, because that puts you in a lot of stress. The other red flag is do not immediately do paid promotions. That will harm your brand, right? So you don't want to end up like the grocery store media, because first thing that when you looked at these was advertisements, not stories. So you don't want to be, so do the stories, do the right stories. Building trust and brand takes time. Even if you're an established journalist, if you're moving towards YouTube, it will take time to build an audience there.
100%.
It's a new platform. So understand the platform requirements, what you can do, how you can do it. Even if you're curating other people's story, how much you can curate. Writing skills would be really important. It takes time to build writing skills. We edit a lot of articles that we get from India or even from other countries. So if English is not the first language, or even if it's second or third, we have to edit it a lot.
Fair enough. Right. Before I go on last two questions, let's talk about what we left at the starting about the Khalistani groups. Why do you think we are seeing it a lot in Australia these days? And you guys cover a lot of stories on that. And I think for that particular reason, you have been backlashed by few people saying why Australia Today is covering international stories or particularly Khalistani stories. They don't say it directly, but indirectly, that's what they meant.
So indirectly, what they say is that, or directly they say is, why are you covering USA and Canada stories? Because that's where things are happening right now, but we have covered the Australia one. So someone said, why is the Australia Today covering Canada or US news? And it was related to Khalistanis.
True.
My response was that by that logic, Sky News should only cover Sky stories or space, and Channel 7, 9 with only number 7 or 9, and Sydney Morning Herald, only Sydney and morning stories. You can't do that. So Australia Today is a global brand. It's a news brand. We do international stories, we do local stories, we do community stories. Thing is that Khalistan is not just, it's not an Indian movement, remember. It's now based in Canada and US. That's where the people are. And they have been trying since 2017 to reach out to their counterparts in Australia. And they've been very active. Only a handful of people, but they're still very active. Our job as news media is to highlight what's happening in the community. And this is happening.
True.
We can't ignore that. We can't sweep it under the carpet like some of the other media houses who do not report about it. We report factually. This is what's happening and this is what they are doing. Khalistan is a banned movement in India. Some of their people have been banned. Yesterday, I did a story about 3 people being arrested, 1 American, 2 Canadians, who after the death of Nijjar, this guy was in charge of the Canadian Khalistan movement. He has been arrested on multiple gun possession charges. But the report he has been taken to the court. He was arrested on Friday last week. On Monday, he was taken to the court, bail denied. He was earlier arrested as well. So I can't make these people victim, right? While
they are not the victims.
While we have the Air India bombing, Kanishka's family still awaiting justice and these people have started using a toolkit where they say, India did it, Indian spies are killing us, India is doing that. It's nothing like that. They have a gun problem, they have a gang problem, they have a drugs problem.
So India haven't done that in between their community.
Yes, so I was a Canadian resident, so I left that residency.
Right.
And you go to Surrey, you sit in a taxi, and the guy will tell you how horrible it is at schools and it's not, someone is pushing the drugs.
100%.
Right? Abbotsford is a place in British Columbia, the biggest lab was busted there, operated by these guys. And they have all Khalistani connections. Why we cover these stories? Because we don't want Australia to end up like Canada.
Same like that, which is fair enough.
We don't want that kind of animosity being built within the Indian community. Sikhs are the most trusted and most loved people in India and Australia.
Totally agree with that.
We do not want a handful of people to give bad name to the whole community, right? India's Australia connection is in history, because I'm a historian as well. It's with Sikhs. They were the first people who came to work on the plantations, not just Sikhs, but people from Punjab.
True.
So if as a Punjabi myself, I don't want us to get that tag that these are extremists. The whole community is extremist,
Definitely,
which is not.
So
if you go to Canada, how do anti-immigration rallies start? How do these rallies start? When you look at some of these characters who do not want to be
a part of community,
Western civilization, who value gun violence or something like that, gangs, drugs. There are people. I'm not saying you cannot have a separatist movement. It needs to be peaceful.
Definitely.
Freedom of speech means that you can air your point. If I'm not happy in Western Australia, I want Western Australia to be a separate. I can't, I can do it in a very democratic way. There is a movement in Canada, Quebec movement. You have the Irish movements. You have people in America who demand separations. New Caledonia from France. So these movements need to be democratically. Dialogue is very important. But Khalistanis do not understand dialogue, sadly.
Definitely not, because I remember speaking to one of the person. he was a Khalistani follower, right? I just ask him one question. Let's say you got Khalistan,
Yeah.
whichever government is at that time, they agree to give you Khalistan. Who will be leading that?
Yeah. No one.
And how you gonna manage the funds as a separate country
Yeah.
from where the money gonna come? I didn't received any valid
No,
answer.
because-
It'll happen.
No, because they haven't thought it through.
Yeah.
And they haven't thought it through because it's not them who are asking for Khalistan, it's the ISI. Terry Milwiski, who's a Canadian journalist who has covered Khalistan in Canada for 3 decades, has a book. And I think everyone should read that book. And his book is basically, it says that Khalistan is a Pakistan or ISI project.
That's what it looked like from news media.
If you are the brawn or if you are the pawns, then you don't need to think it through. And therefore, they are the frontmen. They are not doing anything.
Even though I came across a sort of Instagram channel, right? It's called Sangha Show, something like this.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Find out. You must
on
have seen
TikTok
it,
as well.
Yes. I have seen it on Insta. So he been a part of it, right? Yeah. He is actually sharing a lot of fact, as we were discussing earlier, like sharing effects. He's sharing that original recordings he have received while they try to convert him into Khalistan, and then he came out sort of. So now he's sharing all the stories.
There's so many people who were part of Khalistan who are coming out and sharing how they have brainwashed into believing who's the enemy. To go back to your question, why we highlight such stories? Because the threat of damage is very real in Australia as well. I'll just give you one example why this threat is very real, and it's from New Zealand. A radio host who's very anti Khalistan, very pro-India, pro-Punjab, pro-Indian community, was attacked by almost 8 people with knives, or belonging to one.
Are you serious about that?
Yes.
Like, I haven't seen this news, but...
No, so we covered that story as well. His name is Harneek Singh, the radio host. He was attacked just outside his house, multiple times stabbed. He was lucky that he honked. People started coming out. These guys ran away. They had planned it through. I think 2 or 3 turned state witness. They gave up the others.
Right.
They got, low punishment kind of. The guy who was mainly responsible got the jail term. He tried to suppress his name. Then his name was revealed. Identity was revealed. If you post that story on TikTok, there are many others in New Zealand and Australia who will come out and say, this is our hero. Not Harneek Singh, the guy who's in jail. That's why we need to highlight these stories, that this is what we are dealing with, right? And when you highlight these people will come out and say, but we believe in peaceful Khalistan. Then why attack a poor radio host? Why attack a journalist? He's just doing his job. If you believe in freedom of expression, then there should be no attacks. It's not just him. There was another journalist in Canada. He was attacked on the parking lot of a Gurdwara, right? He's a friend of ours. He almost lost his eye, had to go through surgery. So any journalist who's not repeating or parroting the Khalistan narrative as they want will not be touched, will be celebrated as honest journalists. But any journalist who highlights their bogus asylum, gang links, drugs links, gun links will be attacked, either attacked online trolling or...
Yeah, trolling is pretty common, I think.
So trolling we can handle. Physical threat, we had filed complaints multiple times. Once we started reporting, our editors got threats.
That's actually shocking, but that's what it is. Do you have any story that you can share with us that has made an actual impact for the person who you covered in the story? Any tangible results you have seen and you felt proud on that day? That's what we have done good.
So the one story that we covered was Saurabh Anand's story, the man who was attacked I mentioned that. So he got his visa. There are other stories that we have done, particularly related to the Hindu temple vandalisms, where the temple's CCTV or security money was fast-tracked in a way by the government. The plan was to give the money at some point of time, but then the security threat was higher.
Right.
So these are the kind of community stories. But in terms of fighting misinformation and fact-checking, there was a story where I did. The impact was real within few hours. So a very prominent magazine in UK published a story where they said, it was an op-ed kind of thing, that science under present government in India is under threat or something. And I wrote an cross op-ed where I pointed out how much investment has been made in science, the Mangalyaan and all those things. And then I pointed out that Australia has made significant partnerships with India. Like it was at that point, it was tuned to $18 million for just one project. I asked the question at the end, would the author of the other piece believe that a country like Australia would sign a scientific agreement with India if they were not doing anything in sciences?
True.
Right?
True.
They're not going to Nigeria or Kenya or Timbuktu to sign the document, or Kiribati or PNG. They're going to India to sign a scientific agreement where Australia is investing 18 million and the rest of the money would be invested by India. As soon as the news picked up, people started tagging that magazine, and I argued at the end, to be fair with the author, because her whole piece was not about science, it was about social science. So I said, you should have actually titled it Social Science is a Threat, and they changed the title headline.
That's actually a good thing.
Yes. So impact, sometimes it's very real. Sometimes
you can't even see.
You can't see. Throughout journalism, various stories that we did may have, it's mostly intangible impact, right? So you just get the good story, goodwill kind of thing. That's the only impact for us. For people, I don't know how it changes their life. Sometimes we interview someone who gets invited to Sky News, ABC, and others pick their story. That's very good impact. So an author who has published a book, poetry, maybe no one will be able to read that book or know about that book apart from the circle of the author. We do the story and then mainstream media picks up, right? So that can be an impact.
So moving to my last question, right? How do you see the future of local journalism in Australia, and any threats and opportunities you see?
It is promising, no doubt. But there are some really big threats at the moment. One is that news media is cutting jobs because of the threat of AI or opportunity of AI. You can see it as a threat. Which side of the table you are sitting on, you will see it as a threat. It depends on that. China has started using AI to even write content. They have replaced the news anchors with AI avatars 24/7. They're trying to feed emotions into the AI avatars so they can read news. So for a small media house, if for example, if I think I'm not presentable enough for a video, right? I'm not good looking as Rohit. So I can use my avatar,
100%,
create something that I want. It has already started in podcasting, where you see a lot of TikTok, Facebook, Instagram podcasts that use AI voice.
100%.
You can pick up any voice you want, right? 24-year-old girl from India, so accent, everything has been superimposed on that. So that would be something. Writing has already started, although AI is not that confident when it writes, it messes up a lot. People can still use AI in content writing to polish grammar, because if English is not your first language, then you can, use it for minor typos, fixing typos, proofreading, copy editing. But I won't say writing news, because it will totally mess the whole news. In terms of grocery store media, they will go out. Nobody's taking them. The government's policy will decide, how. Right now, we don't get anything from the government, while grocery route media, they get money.
So
they are sponsored by governments.
Okay.
So they were sponsored to promote community news, that was the idea behind the grocery store medias, if you can call those. So the government used to give them a yearly amount to publish, so to buy the paper. And then they also printed advertisements. So it was a win-win situation for those guys. They were able to, minimize the cost. We don't get anything from the government. All the government is still thinking of how to go about
digital media.
Yeah, to independent media houses, because we are still private and independent. That gives us the freedom to do our stories.
True.
Keeps our independence as well. The future, obviously, is mainstream media will cut jobs. You have a large number of international students, or even second generation Indian students. So I'll focus on Indian diaspora students. We do give them internship opportunities so that they can develop their portfolios. News media depends on significant sponsorship or investment, like India, US. So Murdoch's press, right? So he has so many businesses. Warner Brothers has more news media houses. Microsoft also has a media house, MSNBC. Right? So, but they are not media organization. They are software filmmaking production company, but they have a media house because media is very necessary. We are one of the pillars of the society. So I do see growth potential, but I do not see significant investment that should be from either Indian-owned businesses or Indian investors in media, like India.
Yeah.
So if you look at India, we have so many newspapers, so many magazines, radio, FM channels. It's not same as in Australia.
Definitely. Especially in our community, we don't have much, for sure.
No. So we have much, but not credible or reliable.
That's
that
one
you
of
can
the
look up
to
to,
be
and your children can read that, and you can go Go Media, right? So this is the brand we trust. At the moment, it's just Australia Today and couple of others who are doing that. One is in Melbourne, other is in Sydney, but they have been way before us. They are like 30. One is almost 35-year-old.
Okay.
Again, started with grocery store, but changing. The other one is, I think, 15-20-year-old.
So they have changed with the time, but
they have changed from magazines to online.
Yeah.
But they're still not doing that much news as we do. They are learning from us. That's I've seen. Because,
which is great.
Once they start curating similar stories like you know what they are going, their direction
100%.
is.
Yeah.
We learn from them as well. I'm not saying, right?
They are old in market. For sure,
So we learn from them, they learn from us, and that's how media works.
I would say that's how we grow as a community, right? If you are in the same community, sort of covering similar kind of stuff, or in a same genre, if you are not learning from each other, you might grow, but the extent you can grow, you won't be able to grow.
The only difference remains that if we are in a room with politicians, we are introduced as journalists, they are introduced as community leaders.
That's where the biggest difference
is. So I would take that as a compliment.
True.
Right? So definitely. I'm not a community leader.
I think covering a community news or representing our community in a journalism way is one of the biggest challenge, because as we were discussing earlier, like you end up getting trolled.
That's a mental kind of stress that you have to have.
Deal with that.
So the only way to deal is that, as you, I think, said, ignore the trolls, right? So we don't look at that. Sometimes we do respond to people. Otherwise, mostly we don't even respond to the people. It's not necessary to respond to anyone. You can hide the comment. You can block the people. It's your right.
100%.
Just like it's their right to comment on your stories, it's your right to block people.
True. So this wraps up this powerful episode with Dr. Amit Sarwal, co-founder of Australia Today. We have seen how journalism, when done right, can truly empower community and build trust in a noisy digital world. And here is the exciting part. This conversation was so good, so we have to continue it. Amit will be back in future episode where we will be diving deep into his journey of academic and writing, including how he's turning his ideas into book that makes impact. So make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out onto the second episode of this incredible story. Until then, stay inspired, Stay informed and as always, keep it real.